So hello, this is my video for the education research class. Never thought I would do this, but I am going to talk about my paper, which is about co-teaching. The reason why I chose the subject co-teaching is because I had to do observation hours for another class where I went in once a week with a special educator, and she told me that she co-teaches, and I've known about co-teaching and I've heard about co-teaching before, and I've seen it a couple times, and so I was like, okay, so cool, I get to see two teachers working together to help out a class. So when I went into the classroom, I noticed right away that the general education teacher was the one who was really doing all the teaching, and the special educator who I was with she didn't say a single thing. So I was really confused. So in my head, when I hear co-teaching, even though I know all the knowledge of co-teaching from previous classes, in my head I think co-teaching is two teachers who are coming together to cooperate to teach one classroom. Not two teachers coming together, planning, and then only one teacher really teaches. So I decided to investigate more into this subject. The title of my research paper is Co-Teaching, Should It Be Equal Teaching? Some of the literature that I looked into focused on, some of them were about some of the students' point of view of co-teaching and how they felt about it. Some of them had to do with the different types of co-teaching and see if it worked. I looked at a couple different countries and see if they use co-teaching, because I would have assumed that co-teaching was more of a American kind of type of teaching strategy, but apparently it's used worldwide, which is great. I think that's awesome. Let's see here. A lot of the things that I find with co-teaching, the literature that I found in co-teaching, was that a lot of teachers find the power-hungry involvement in co-teaching, meaning one teacher is basically doing all of the work and having to do everything while the other teacher just kind of stands around, kind of what I was seeing in the classroom. I'm going to quote Gerger and Usner of 2010, and Ashton, the two different articles, talked about how even when the special educator and general educator worked together for quite some time, the general educator was always the one in charge. That's typically what they saw. Some articles were talking about whether it was beneficial for the students, and they said that some articles saw a change, others didn't, which I thought was kind of really interesting. If I were to go more into this, if this wasn't just a pilot study and I were to really investigate this more, I would want to, for like an entire year, I would like to see the students' progress throughout the year of co-teaching, and then if the following year they don't have a co-teacher in the classroom, I could be able to compare the difference, but I don't have that time, so that's not what I did. So my style of doing this study was, I interviewed 4 teachers. I interviewed the general educator, the special educator, the general educator of a 7th grade classroom, which before I should really say this, let me explain something. At this school that I did my observation hours for, the 7th grade was split into teams, and they had specific names. I don't know if I can say them, so I'm not going to. So I actually got to witness 2 different 7th grade math classes, but different groups of kids. So I interviewed the general educator of one of the math classes, general educator of another math class, the special educator, and these 3 are from one school. I also interviewed my friend. I'm from New Hampshire, so she works in southern New Hampshire. And she's a general educator, but she co-teaches math in her classroom as well. So I wanted to get a different perspective to see if co-teaching styles had a little bit of a difference between different states. so I thought that was interesting. However, I was unable to actually observe her classroom because I was so far away, but she gave me a little bit of a perspective of what her classroom looks like. So within the interviews, I also did observation hours within the 2 math classes in the Vermont school. And then I compared it with the literature that I looked up. So, with my findings, I broke it down into 3 categories. I broke it down from the role of both teachers, what both teachers told me and what I was able to see in the classroom. Where'd it go? Oh, planning time, the amount of planning time, because 2 people working together to teach in one classroom, 20 kids, there has to be a lot of planning involved. Anybody who doesn't even know much about co-teaching should probably assume that, because you can't have 2 people going in with 2 different ideas teaching a group of students at the same time, because it would not go smoothly at all. And then the teacher's definition of co-teaching, because they could have a different idea of co-teaching. So with the teacher's role, I talked about how, from what I observed, the general educator would always be teaching the class and the special educator really wouldn't be saying much of anything. But when I actually interviewed the 2 teachers, or the 3 teachers I should say, even though the special educator isn't really saying much, she's doing a lot to be involved in the classroom. So she has a couple students on her caseload that are in the class, obviously, and what she will do is during the actual teaching time, she will be the one monitoring around the classroom, not just focusing on her students on the caseload, but the classroom as a whole. She'll do her walking around. I would walk around as well, give any guidance that students needed. If she noticed that students needed help, even though they didn't ask for it, she would offer her help. If students need more instruction, like one-on-one, she would specifically work with them while the general educator was walking around and giving help during classwork time. And when I asked what she thought what her role was within her interview, she said, when I asked her the question, when you are co-teaching, what do you believe is your role? The special educator's response was about how she was able to help with the support. She was able with the checking in. She was able to be listening around for students, see if anybody needed anything. Working with communication skills, things like that. Both general educators in the Vermont school, I'm still focusing on them, their response was, the one in classroom 1, which is the one I spent the most, actually I don't have that up right now, talked about how they both stated that they were the lead role. They were the ones who were involved. From classroom 2, the general educator in there, he actually stated that his role is to be driving the bus, which I thought was an interesting way of explaining it. What I thought was really interesting between the Vermont school and the New Hampshire school was that actually my friend in a New Hampshire school, her co-teaching isn't the one teach, one assist, which is what I'm seeing in the Vermont school. She says that in her classroom, both her and the just special educator actually switch roles frequently. Maybe one day where my friend is teaching the class and the other one's, walking around helping out. It could be that the special educator is the one teaching the class and then my friend is the one walking around helping. So they're more of a tag team working style, which I think is great. I'm going to move on because I'm running out of time. The planning time. This blew my mind. Again, I was hoping that, teachers would be spending a lot of time together for planning with this. But really, they don't at all. In New Hampshire, my friend says, when I asked, how many days in the week and how many hours on average do you plan with your co-partner? She told me they plan about 1 hour per week. She works on a 6th grade curriculum. And because of that, actually her co-partner taught the same 6th grade curriculum last year, so she's using all of her resources from last year, which is pretty cool. So they kind of have it easy down there where it's already mostly planned. They just need to sort things out. In Vermont, a special educator told me that they plan 30 to 50 minutes a week. I actually would sit in with one of the planning times with Classroom 2's general educator teacher, and they have an allotted slot time that's about a little over about an hour, but they only spend about 15 minutes talking and actually planning anything, so it's very little time. And general educator teacher in the first classroom said just really in passing is when they would be talking and doing some quick planning, and then mostly have it planned out. So I thought that was really, really shocking, that very limited time, but also understandable because really teachers are having a hard time finding time for anything in the classroom, and so this extra planning, they don't have time for it. But it's great because it's working for them. From what I've observed, it's going smoothly, and the students are appreciating that they have more than one source, and the teachers appreciate it too. As one of the classroom teachers said, that it's great to have that extra person in there because the ratios are so off. Having 20 students teaching one student, or one teacher teaching 20 students, it's easier when there's 2 teachers teaching 20 students. Hold on. I'm recording still. Last, I'm going to quickly go into this because I'm just about out of time. What the teachers thought their role of, what they believe co-teaching was. I simply asked them the question, what is your definition of co-teaching? And did not give them anything else. The special educator teacher in Vermont stated, hold on one second, I need to pull up the other one. She said that it was providing access to content, including all students, working collaboratively with colleagues, and the use of universal design for learning, which I'm really happy that she mentioned that because I absolutely love the UDL version of teaching lessons. General educator teacher 1 said that co-teaching is drawing upon the strengths of diverse adults to better meet the needs of a diverse group of students. General educator teacher number 2 said 2 educators with different strengths meeting all the learning styles. And my friend, the general educator teacher in New Hampshire, is saying having multiple teachers that give access to information at all levels. So it's interesting to see the different perspectives of the different teachers of what actually co-teaching is, even though there is a set definition. That's what they believe co-teaching is, which kind of opened my eyes more to how co-teaching should be run in classrooms. And I absolutely would love to use the style in my classroom if needed, because it honestly is a great way to get different perspectives in one classroom, and it would be very helpful for my students. So I'm over my time, so I hope that you all enjoyed my video. So thank you.